Yes, graduates, welcome to Hard Talk Podcast with HTK. Fasten your seatbelts.
Hey, users and subscribers, welcome back to another episode of Hard Talk with HTK. Now, the story of Atiya'S continues to ride the waves of Guyana's conscience. I'm telling you that there are so many questions being asked now that this case has come to light. I plan to reveal to you today an exclusive video that shows from a different perspective what took place outside of the building. When I'm telling you that when you hear the screams of the child, it will rip through your heart. But in the meantime, the commentary has flooded the newsfeed of Facebook, one of which comes from the renowned artist Compton Bab. Now, Compton Bab has shared with the public some drawings that were sent to him that was done by the 11-year-old child. He states, did he know? Shocking revelations of Atiya'S son artwork. In 2021, he received these drawings done by Jeremiah Solomon. With careful observation, he says that they can clearly see that he had a premonition of the tragedy. In pictures 2 and 3, he identified the words massacre, and the images are macabre. In picture 4, with the character Venom, it says, I was right, and that was coming from the heroic figure. In picture 5, there are words, but I escape. In picture 6, there's an aeroplane symbolizing escape. And he put 3 question marks beside the name of the character, Venom. He asked the pertinent questions, fathers, how does your children see you? What's your superhero name? So in his analysis, he believes that these pictures were reflective of the things that the child was going through emotionally in the household. Venom, being an evil character, he believes symbolized the father. And that Spider-Man was him wanting to be the rescuer of his mother and also wanting to escape the character, the evil character, which is his dad. Now, we all know that child psychologists use art all the time in order to get children to express themselves, particularly when they're going through traumatic situations. I do not believe that Compton Bab's commentary is far-fetched. While he may just be thinking that he's drawing his favorite, movie, Spider-Man versus Venom. I don't even know what that particular one was called, but I remember there was one with Venom in it. It's interesting that he chose those words and he chose those scenes. And it was all about a victorious escape from an evil character, an evil masculine character. There were clearly signs there. And these kind of things also begs the question about how educators pick up on troubled children in our schools. Are they able to identify when children are suppressing feelings of fear? Are they able to pick up on when children are being abused and whether or not the child actually cried out for help while he was in an institution like his school? We understand that the child was actually really bright and that he had secured a place in the top secondary school from his academic efforts. A very bright little boy indeed, with a bright future, and we continue to lift him up in prayers as he recovers in hospital. Like I said, the whole thing has brought, painful memories to the fore. In this particular statement, a young lady shares with the public. She recalls when her situation was very similar to what happened to Atiya. However, she managed to escape. I want you to listen to this story because this is indicative of just how the Guyanese legislation and police force often fails the public and fails to protect women who are in abusive relationships. Take a listen. The post is from a Guyanese who currently lives in Japan by the name of Julie Bacchus. Now, Julie Bacchus stated that when I heard about Atiya'S death, it shook me, not just because of the tragedy, but because I know that story all too well. In 2012, I had just separated from my daughter's father. Like so many families in Guyana, I grew up in a home where domestic violence was normalized. When he started putting his hands on me, I reached out to his family for help. They turned a blind eye. Deep down, I knew that if I stayed, my story was not going to end well. One night in my hometown, he followed me to an event. Intoxicated, with a look in his eyes I had never seen before, he attacked me. My screams were drowned out by music in the background. His hands were around my neck. He tried to throw me over a veranda. By God's grace, my little brother heard me, just a boy, but his adrenaline and courage saved my life that night. He got a spade and began hitting him in the back while alerting other occupants of our home. I reported it. I went to court. I refused to back down, even when his family and some of mine pleaded with me to drop the case. He was sentenced to 6 months but never spent a single night in jail. A bribe in the magistrate's court set him free. That was the day I lost faith in Guyana's judicial system, one that should protect women but too often betrays them. So when I think of Atiya, of Kenisha Vaughn, of every woman silenced by violence, my heart aches, and I cannot help but ask, what about the children left behind? What about the mothers still crying for justice that never comes? Let's be clear. This is not politics. This is all of us. Yes, the government must create stronger laws, enforce justice, and protect victims. But we too are accountable. The mothers who protect their abusive sons, the women who shame and gossip instead of standing with victims, the workplaces that spread rumors instead of offering safety, the system that re traumatizes women who dare to report. Every time we excuse, minimize, or look away, we are part of the problem. Rest in peace, Atiya. May your son never lack love, healing, and support. May he grow knowing his mother's life mattered. What to me would be a terrible fate is if that little boy ends up in the household of his father. If he ends up with his father's family, that would be such a disgraceful thing because that household spawned a devil. And that is the last place that should be considered safe and secure for that young man. But anyway, we continue to keep an eye on this case. And for now, I plan to share with you this video. Did you hear the screams of the child saying, "I am sorry"? That child has been carrying the burdens of everything that has happened in his household for his entire life. And he thinks that by apologizing, his evil father would have left him alone. His evil father would have left him. Well, I don't know what he was apologizing for, but it's important that little boy knows it's not his fault. Whatever took place in that household had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with a deranged male who could not control his temperament. Yes, I am aware of that ridiculous voice note that has been circulated from a loose blogger's page who dared to put something out in the most insensitive way, claiming that this young lady was pregnant by somebody else and all kinds of mess, which I will not repeat, just to protect that little boy. Sometimes I think some of you are so reckless and feckless, you literally put out things without sources and think that you're making an intelligent move. So sometimes it really is about you, the public, having a discerning spirit. Because at the end of the day, even if a woman decides that she no longer wants a man and she decides that she wants somebody else and she decides with her own body who she wants to get pregnant for, it does not give any man the right to take her life. It does not give any man the right to turn a gun on a child. So none of these excuses, that dead dog's behavior, may he rot in hell. And any family member that comes to his defense, may you follow swift and fast. There was also a comment based on Atiya'S case by one Martina MacDonald Johnson. She stated in her Facebook status, all night, I wondered one thing as I struggled to sleep. How thorough was the police investigation into the Hadfield Street hit and run that occurred on August 15, in which Tika Day Atiya'S Solomon was the victim? Did they ever find out who struck her down and left her in the trench where she almost drowned? Did they ever make an arrest? And if not, could she have been alive today if that person had been arrested? Because possibly it was her husband. She says that she was driving on Hadfield Street that afternoon and that accident occurred a few minutes before she got to the spot. She did not witness the accident. She saw people helping a woman and asked what happened. They said it looked like she was deliberately struck down, like she was being followed, watched, because of how quickly it happened. The ambulance arrived and gave her medical care. It appeared someone else was also hit. I was trying to get to NIS before it closed, so I left after a while. She says, I really wanted to know who the victim was and if she was going to be okay. I tipped one of my former media students about the accident and asked her to follow up. She was on assignment covering the release of CXC results, and we didn't speak about it again. It was only after the young woman was murdered I learned she was the hit and run victim too. Could she have been alive today? This is truly sad. And she continued to pray for the son who has to live with the emotional, mental, physical scars of all that trauma? These are very, very good questions. And this is why when I read the articles yesterday, I made sure that I included that point about the hit and run, because they stated that she had actually gone to get her dressing done and that it was with this said man. And then he had disappeared. Nobody knew where he went and all of that. So my question is, did anybody question this estranged husband to find out if he was in the vicinity or not? Was there any description of the vehicle? No witnesses at all. And it was a deliberate striking down. I remember they said that there were gunshots in the area previously. Has he been more and more threatening towards this woman's life until he finally took it out? Was it a build up? Was it leading up to this fated day? A dreadful situation indeed. President Irfan Ali has spoken up about the tragic incident, and he made a statement where he says that he was deeply distressed and saddened by the tragic accident in which a man, Alroy Salman, is reported to have taken his own life and that of his wife, Atiya'S Solomon, and to have seriously injured their child. The family remains the basic cell of human society, and its preservation is essential to our nation's well-being. When families break, society bleeds. But when families thrive, a nation stands tall. I remain firmly committed to working to provide all the help and support that families need to be nurtured, to grow stronger, and to flourish. I extend my condolences to the relatives and friends and wish the child a speedy recovery. Now, President Ali, as much as I'm sure the whole public appreciates your statement, I think this needs to be backed by an actual press conference where you discuss what you're going to be doing about the femicide rate in Guyana. Too many women have lost their lives at the hands of their partners, and it continues to be a major problem. What will be put in place to protect women, and what processes will need to be revamped in the police force to ensure that perpetrators do not get an easy escape? In the meantime, the conditions of the Amerindian community continues to be of grave concern. These people, who are the indigenous folk of Guyana, often live in very estranged places where facilities for health are limited. I am wondering what the Guyanese government is doing about things like this. I came across a video of a little boy, which I'm about to share with you now.
God's son, boy. Hey.
Whosoever do this to this little guy, he saw.
Feel it. But,
You gotta expect worse than this. See.
yeah.
So you just gotta remember where you gotta pass through more than this. Because what you do to this little guy, he saw. The person who do this, he saw. What should you do to this little guy, he saw? You suffer this like this little guy is for I don't know how much years, but maybe couple years, but when you time reach me, boy, you gotta go. You gotta go and you gotta pass through more than this here. How you do this to this youth man here, so brutal. Alright.
Yeah.
Alright.
What's starting?
This is all me gotta say now. Good.
Now, as you can see, that father is in distress. And when you look at the child's stomach area, when you look at his torso, it is so distended from swelling. It is either a case of poison, cancer, or, as many in the comments were saying, they believe it's black magic. But I genuinely don't believe in those things. I think that this child must have been ailing for some time with an extended stomach, and nobody knew or had the ability to get care for that child. I do not understand why the first thing we think is that it's iniquity. And I'm not saying that those things do not happen and do not exist. But what has happened previously to eliminate that it wasn't a medical crisis that the child was under, and his organs are failed because the sepsis has clearly set in, which leads to everything swelling up. It is so horrific to see something like this happen to a little boy whose care is in the hands of the adults, who seem to be none the wiser about how they could have assisted this from meeting such a terrible end. But I'm saying, people, when we have communities where there are no hospitals locally, not enough clinics that are free to access, and travel can be hard going, these are the results. People can die of ailments that could have been remedied had they got access to the right medical facilities to help them out. Now, with all the voting that you're voting, and with all the excitement leading up to the elections, I do hope you choose a party that is inclusive and that recognizes that there are needs, not just in the Black or the Indian communities, but in the Amerindian community as well. Okay, let us move on. I'm going to try and lift your spirits just a little bit because I know that everybody's spirits are very low after this whole case. But let us pay attention to what is going on with Dagi and Guyanese Critic. Can you believe these two? Now, they have been throwing pot shots at each other all over the internet. Dagi is hell-bent on having a one-on-one with Guyanese Critic. I am going to share with you the post that was made by Dagi and the response of Critic as well. So here it is. There's a flyer and everything with them with fighting gloves on. No, sir. So, as you know, Bradley Sampson, aka Doggy, had put up a post asking, how much will you guys pay to see me and Big Goody Critics fight? He said the pair view soon drop, and he soon dropped the flyer, right? So now he's dropped the flyer. Here's the flyer. The flyer says Guyanese influencer Doggy is planning to set up a PPV match between him and Critic. Now, of course, Critic did not back down. No, because Critic had to have a clap back to what Doggy has been offering. So, in response to Doggy, Guyanese Critic said, the critic's service to this country is free of charge. No money needed. You soon find out. Remember, Critic was the one who said he have a fuck around and find out program. So he let him Bradley Sampson know to bring it on. If these two are just messing about. I can't be bothered with the banter, just hurry up and bring on the fight because you know that even if it's pay-per-view, that thing gonna leak and we gonna get that. And I wonder who would win. Who's your bet on, people? Do you think Critic could beat up Doggy? Or do you think on one with Doggy, Critic stands no chance at all? It should be one for the history books. Now, with all this stupidness between, critics and Doggy and Brian Max, because it's just a big distraction leading up to the election, right? Of course, Rhonda Bob, she had to have something to say. You would think that this woman in the middle of her problems would focus on herself. Now she's claiming that she's healing, but no, she had to run out. And she had to, in fact, encourage violence. Yes. Now, this is the kind of thing that's wrong in the Caribbean, this kind of mindset. Because an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. And yes, Brian Max was out of order, but to encourage critics to actually cause him more grievous bodily harm shows that you certainly don't have critics' well-being in your thoughts at all. You just want to run off at the mouth without thought. But anyway, in case you missed what she had to say, here is your 592 Auntie's comments.
Brian Max versus critics. Let me tell you something. Critics ain't wrong. He ain't wrong. And not because I know critic. He ain't wrong though. Brian, you don't tell a man about your mother and your wife. That's disrespectful. And not only that, you got beef with he or your beef. Only if he drag somebody in for you, you drag somebody in for he. Now, when you go to prayer office with that thing in your hand, since then I want somebody tap your skunt up. Cause you're disrespectful. You went in your hole or your coffin, whatever the case is. I don't know where you resurrect from, sir. But all you do is talk and talk and talk. You do nothing constructive. You was laying low for the longest while. You was in no problem. You come out now for election for create a problem. Well, you meet your meter. You meet your meter. Alright? You should have whapped you some more. Critics ain't come and call you downstairs. He drag you down. Alright? And guess what? You deserve it. Critics, if he was here, would have give you a big clap to where he's gone.
Now, people, I don't know if you have missed this, but I don't know what's going on with the Adriana Younge case. Many people have thought that I have stopped dealing with the Adriana Younge case. I will never stop dealing with it, but I will await for things to release in order to make any kind of commentary on it. And from what I can see, we have had 3 new videos drop today. These are aerial shots, it looks like drone shots that were never seen before, suddenly coming to the surface on a blogger's page. Now, I am going to share with you these 3 videos, one after the other. As you can see, they are exclusive images of the Doubleday Hotel while it was being burnt and destroyed by the mob outside. It also shows the moment when Adriana's body was taken out of the hotel and placed in the ambulance. I want you to pay attention to the commentary on the reels that I've downloaded and let me know your thoughts in the comments before I analyze what I've seen. Okay, so in the first video, which I'm now showing again, it is clear that this is the back view of the Doubleday Hotel. You can see that there are people at the back of the hotel. There's a white car. There's an area there where I'm not sure if that's necessarily a part of the hotel where they have certain events or they hire out for parties or what. You can see that there are three individuals standing there. One walks over to the fence, to the gate of the building with a red roof, and they are looking quite distressed, covering their mouth. Another person is standing by the white vehicle, and then a third person walks towards that vehicle as well. Who are these three members of staff or members of the public? Why are they at the back of the hotel? What were they doing there while the body was being found in the pool? And you can see that the smoke is heavy at the front and the smoke has gone black. So you know that the fire has aged a bit, right? Okay. Now, in the second video, you can see that there is fire at the back of the hotel. Now, the commentary says that the fire started at multiple points. But what I can also say is it's possible that the fire has spread from the front to the back because that smoke is white and the smoke at the front is black. Now, if anybody knows anything about fires, when the fire really starts to rage, it changes color. The smoke changes color. That much I have picked up, right? But it's possible that it spread to the back as opposed to it being started at different points. But this is that blogger's opinion that she has placed in there based on her observation. She's saying that the fire was at multiple parts of the building, but if the fire was started at the back, the only people there were those three people from what I can see, because everybody else was to the front of the building. And we've already seen the clip where Leroy Smith was coming down the stairs when the fire looks like the smoke looks like it just started to come out, right? It could also be that the color of the smoke has to do with whatever chemical or what was being burnt. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's a new fire as opposed to an old fire. It could just be what was being burnt as well, right? Which caused it to have that color, separate from the color that's at the front. So we're just using all the common sense that we have to come up with some kind of idea of what's going on. But nobody can really ever know if the fire was started at multiple points or if the fire simply spread. That's what I found from this second video. Right, now in the third video, you can see this is where the body had already been discovered in the pool, and all the mob is coming towards where the ambulances are, and they are clearly carrying out the body of Adriana and taking that body towards the ambulance. You can see the people carrying the body outside, and then you can see them going towards the ambulance. She's highlighting that there's somebody here that's very cozy with the hotel staff. I don't know who that was. Somebody put it in the comments if you do know who that was. And then the ambulance and the police clearing away all of the evidence and the body to take the body for an assessment at the mortuary, no doubt. So these are the things that came out of these three videos, but I am leaving it to the real investigators to identify if they have noticed any anomalies in these videos, and also to really heavily scrutinize how it is that we have got suddenly new footage being leaked at this late stage. People, I genuinely believe that there is somebody sitting on even more footage, and that this somebody has got some monetary gain to remain silent. And you know what they say? What is not clear at night will become clear in the day. It is obvious to me that this is being leaked, drip fed to the public, maybe on purpose, maybe as a warning, because money not exchanging hands. I don't know what's going on, but certainly this footage should have been there from the very beginning when everything was all up in the air and people were trying to find out what is happening to get justice for Adriana. But suddenly, once again, 3 videos have leaked. You let me know what you think of them in the comments. What do you see? Do you spot anything that is crucial to the case? The whole thing is very distressing. All we want is an update. What is happening with the investigation? Give the public some kind of clue as to whether or not the investigation is moving in the right direction. Who has been interviewed so far? What new information has come to light from the second autopsy, if any? Everybody seems to have gone very silent on the processes, and I do understand some things just cannot be shared while the investigation is active, but we are on tender hooks, very concerned. The last thing we want is for this case to just die a silent death and there is no justice for this little girl. Anyway, if you have made it thus far into the video, please make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button. If you are new to my channel, you hit that bell so every time I drop a video, you get notified. This is your girl, Head Teacher K, and I'm out.